In this world, we like to know that you can see and hear us there. Welcome, everyone. We are so glad that you are here and joining us today. You're encouraged to ask questions as we go. Please keep yourself on mute until you have a question or comment. Then feel free to unmute, use the raise the hand feature, or post in the chat. We will be recording today's workshop for ASB/TDC education purposes. You might have noticed that you just heard that little recording to let us know. If we cannot see your full name in the participants, please send a message to me, Lindsay Ramsey, with your full name so that we can make sure we record your attendance. All right. Well, welcome everyone. We're going to get started. Welcome to this program of the University of Arkansas Small Business Technology and Development Center. We're so pleased to be able to bring you these educational programs to help support small businesses. Again, we are recording this conversation for education purpose. And guess what? You get to have access to these recordings and all of our past workshops and webinars at our website. And we're going to post that link in the chat. I'll introduce Chris momentarily. First, I would like to introduce us and tell you a little bit about ASB/TDC. I'm Lindsay Ramsey. I'm a consultant with the Small Business Center. If you don't know about what we do at the Small Business Development Center, it is a one-stop shop for startups and existing small businesses. We are associated with the University of Arkansas and affiliated with the SBA and statewide ASB/TDC. We trip on that name all the time, as well as a national network of more than 1,000 small business centers. Locally, we offer complimentary, we get that question a lot, yes, complimentary one-on-one consulting and programs like this one. We cover relevant topics for business owners, and if you're not already a client, we encourage you to visit us at sbtdc.uark.edu. Today, we are bringing you Microsoft Excel Essentials Level 2. Chris will leave time open at the end for you to ask specific questions. Please keep yourself on mute until the end. Then feel free to unmute, use the raise hand feature, or post in the chat. While we're getting to know Chris, we also want to get to know you. If you can please post in the chat and let us know what industry you're in and what level of Excel user that you are. And I would have to comment that I am a very beginner. So I'm excited about following along with you. And now, without further hesitation, we'll turn it over to Chris.
Okay, great. Thank you, Lindsay. And guys, if you weren't part of the Excel Beginning 1, we will make sure to post in the chat box how to get to those recordings, and you can take a look at that too. I am going to just review just a little bit of what I did last week, but I'm also going to add, I did get a lot of questions from Excel 1, and I'm going to kind of address some of those in this session, along with covering formatting and pivot tables and worksheets and charts. So please keep in mind that this is more for me to tell you guys all about the features and so forth. Don't worry about following each one of the steps. That's why my email is there. I can send you the steps. You guys can send me your spreadsheet and I can help you work on it that way. So don't worry so much about the steps rather than focusing on the features and what all you can do inside of Excel. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And what I did is I'm using the same file that we used in Excel version 1. I just created a basic Excel spreadsheet for the animal shelter and how many dogs and cats and birds were being adopted in the first quarter. Just a couple of things that I wanted to cover about this is I had some questions for me to re-show you guys the autofill. So I'm just going to leave the word January in cell B2. And I'm going to delete February and March, just so you can see one example of the autofill handle. So the autofill handle is located at the bottom right-hand corner, and you can see that my mouse is now a solid black plus, but it's located at the bottom right-hand corner of cells. Now, the autofill handle can fill in the months of the year, the days of the week, any combination with maybe quarter 1, and you want it to then fill in quarter 2, quarter 3, quarter 4, and then even more importantly with formulas. And I'm going to show you a couple of the shortcuts that, one that I did not show you the last time that I want to make sure that I show you. But again, the autofill handle, I just typed in January. I'm going to position my mouse on the autofill handle, and I know I'm there when I've got the solid black plus. Then I'm going to click, hold, and drag over to the right. And I could keep dragging. It would fill in April, May, June, July, and so forth. But I just want those 3 months. Now, one of the questions I got quite a bit since the last session is, how did I do that with the formulas? Let me just show you this again, and then a really quick shortcut tip to copy it all the way down. If you've got a huge Excel spreadsheet, how you can quickly autofill formulas all the way down. So with any formula, I'm going to click inside of the cell where I want my answer to be. I'm going to click up here on this sum button. And again, there's 3 or 4 different ways of doing everything in Excel. So just kind of find the way that you like the best. For me, if I'm going to sum, I just come up here to the sum button up there on my home ribbon. And then remember, it starts to kind of disco dancing around the cells that it thinks that you want to add, which this is correct. So I'm just going to go ahead and click on the auto sum button again, or you could even hit your enter key on the keyboard. Then once again, this is one of the biggest time savers. I'm going to grab that autofill handle and drag it over to the right so it fills in my formulas for February and March. Here's the shortcut that I told somebody about the last time that they were really excited about. So I want to make sure I mention it here. But again, I'm going to do the formula, click inside of the cell where I want my answer to be, click on the auto sum button, click on the auto sum button again. This time, and again, there are so many shortcuts in Excel. That's why I want to make sure that you guys reach out and ask, because don't waste your time doing something over and over again, because there is a shortcut. I'm going to position my mouse on that autofill handle. And this is a really small spreadsheet, but a lot of your spreadsheets will go down rows and rows and rows. One quick way to copy a formula down is to double click on that autofill handle, and it will copy it all the way down. Now, it stopped here just because I've got these formulas right there. But if I would have had elephants and horses and pigs and cows, it would have copied it all the way down. So again, let me just delete this, because somebody thought this was the best invention ever. So I want to make sure you guys see this. I did just one formula. I positioned my mouse on the autofill handle, and I double clicked with my left mouse button, and it will copy it all the way down. Okay. A couple other things that I wanted to mention too is the undo. Don't forget, and again, I know this is a level 2, and for you guys that know Excel, you know, the undo is something that we probably learned the very first thing, but you've got the undo button up here on your menu bar, and Control Z is also the undo. So you can undo anything that you mess up. And I do make a lot of mistakes in Excel, and I'm thinking, oh, why did I get rid of that formula? I didn't mean to delete it, or I didn't mean to type on top of it. You'll make sure that you do the undo quite a bit. Okay. My next thing that I wanted to talk about was the formatting. A lot of you guys are creating budgets and P&Ls and in a lot of different spreadsheets that you've got to have stuff kind of pop out at you for. So you might want to format a little bit differently, or you might even want to set up what they call conditional formatting. But let me first show you the auto format. So I'm just going to click on January. Again, normally I would probably highlight all these 3 and click on bold and do my formatting, but I'm just going to show you how you can do the auto format. So I clicked on January, and then I'm going to come up here and I'm going to bold it. I'm going to actually color it red, and I'm going to make it a little bit bigger, just so I do quite a bit of stuff. In Excel, you'll use the auto format way more than any other Microsoft program that you guys use. What that means is if you like the format of a cell, and it could be a cell that maybe has a decimal point in it, it can be a cell that has italicized in it, anything like that, what you're going to do is you're going to click on the cell that contains the format that you like, and then you're going to come up here and click on the format button, the auto format. So if I click on the format painter right there, now I can click, hold, and drag across the cells that I want to look the same. If I double click on that format painter, it's going to automatic format any other cells that I want. So if I click on January again, I double click on that format painter, I can go through and I can keep highlighting any cells that I want to look the exact same. Okay. That might not make a whole lot of sense why I formatted that the way I did, but you can just see that you can continue to format any cells that you like. And then I'm just going to either hit the escape key, or you can hit the auto format painter again just to take it off. One of the things that I really think, and let me just undo this here. I'm going to undo all this so I take it back to just kind of the plain. One thing that I got a question about is you guys are doing, and you're typing in a lot of inventory, you're typing in prices, you're typing in quantity. How do you have certain quantities or certain prices kind of jump out at you? Let's say, for example, here, I want to see any of the amounts, all of my totals in column E. I want to see any of the amounts of the animals that aren't adopted, maybe under the number of 150. So I want those to kind of jump out at me. So maybe, you know, if it's cats, we need to work a little bit harder on making sure that cats are being adopted, or birds, or whatever. Now, this is called the conditional formatter. So I'm going to highlight the cells that I want to set the conditional format for. And then if you'll notice, it's the button right there on your home ribbon. If you hover over it, it will tell you what the conditional formatting does. It easily will spot trends. It's going to spot patterns. And in a lot of cases, how I use it is kind of spot if something's too big, if I've got too big of a quantity, or I don't have a big enough number. I want it to kind of jump out at me that way. So I'm going to click on conditional formatting. And then if you can see, you guys, you could spend all day, and this is one of the funnest features, I think, in Excel, but you can spend all day setting kind of different parameters for those cells and have them do different things. For me, I'm just going to come up to this top option, highlight cell rules, and I want to select less than, because what I want to do is I want to tell my staff which animal is not being adopted as much as the others. So maybe we can run a campaign on that, or just kind of make sure that we make that a little bit more vocal on our social media. So I'm going to click on less than. It's asking me down here, what's the number I want less than? I'm going to do 150. So I want to know for every quarter, any animal that we are adopting less than 150 out for that quarter, I want that number to jump out at me. So over here to the right, you can even change the formatting. I'm going to leave it to where the background will be red and the foreground is going to be red on top of that. So I click on OK. Let me click outside of there. So can you tell right here, the one that's jumping out? That stays put also. So if for some reason somebody made a mistake and in March it was actually 18, and I click and change 18, it will automatically know that I want that number to pop out at the right. So again, conditional formatting is really, really good for anything that you want to spot, maybe a number that's getting too big, maybe a price point, maybe you want to pull out the top 10 or the bottom 10, and it will automatically do that formatting for you. Okay, then to move on to working with multiple worksheets. I did get this question the last time. I kind of ran over it really quick, but one thing that one of the participants from the last time was telling me is she creates a completely different file for every one of the different months of her business. And I said, I think it'd probably be better, because then if you want it all in one, you create one file, which is called a workbook, but you create separate sheets inside of that workbook. So if you had a workbook for 2021, you could have a sheet for January, February, March, April, May, all the way through. These sheets are really easy. And for those of you guys that have used Excel for a while, I know that you're going to already know this, but just know that you can double click to rename a sheet. Maybe that's going to be just QTR1. I can click on this little plus to add another sheet. And then I could also click and move those sheets around. Again, don't worry so much about the steps. Just know that within one file, and it's also called a workbook, you can have several sheets in there. And so you don't have to open up all these different files to go back and forth. One of the reasons I'm telling you this too is because in one of the sessions, it's not the next one, but the session after that with the advanced formulas, we're going to do links. So you're going to have 12 sheets, and your 13th sheet is going to be all of your totals for the 12 sheets, kind of as a big picture for 2021. So I'm going to show you how to do formulas to where you add up all those other sheets, and really the total of 2021 will be on the sheet number 13 that we'll create. Okay, so I just wanted you guys to get a little bit more comfortable with those different sheets down here at the bottom. Okay, Lindsay, do we have any questions? I can't see chat at all, but I know we're going to wait until the end, but do we have any that popped up here?
No questions so far, but I'll keep watching for you.
Perfect. Okay. And I am going to try to leave enough time at the end. Last time we went right up to 3 o'clock. So I'm going to try to leave a little bit more time for this session. Okay. The next thing that I wanted to show you guys are the viewing and the printing features. So for example, freezing a pane, merging and centering a title, and wrapping. So what I'm going to first do is I'm going to want to merge and center this title. And this is just kind of more of what you prefer when you glance at it or what you print. I want to make sure that animal shelter is merged and centered across all of those columns. So I'm just going to highlight all the cells, including the cell that has my title in it. But I'm going to select all the cells that I want it to be centered within. And then up here under the alignment, you can see the alignment section, there's a merge and center. And when I click on that, it will just merge and center that title. Okay. And I can click on it to undo it. Okay. And then something else that I got this question about is when you'll notice last time we had cells that weren't, or the columns that were not big enough. And so some of the cells had the little number symbol in there indicating that that column is not big enough. Now, a lot of times I know what you guys can do is just come up here on the lines right there in between the column headings, and you can resize that to where it will fit the data inside of there. You can also double click and it will automatically fit just one space all the way down and just make it large enough for you to see. But there's another way. A lot of times you're going to be wanting to type in maybe notes. And as you're typing in notes, I'm probably going to misspell everything, you start to see that everything starts to go away, or it will overflow into the next one until you type in something and then it cuts it off. So again, if you overtype into that cell and it starts to go over into the right, it's going to be fine until you start to type in something in that empty column, and then it will look like it cuts it off. So that's what the wrapping text is for. So I'm just going to click on that cell and I'm going to click on wrap text, and it will wrap your text. So then you can see everything. And again, I can resize that if I want it to have more space. I can go back down. But this wrapping text is going to be really helpful, especially for any time you type in text and notes and more information. Now here you'll notice that automatically Excel puts every one of it kind of aligns each cell. Automatically the default is the text is to the left and at the bottom of every cell. So if you don't like that and you want all the text to be at the top, you can again highlight your cells. And that's, see, I unhighlighted, there we go. And then that's what, again, all of these buttons are for under the alignment. This right here is going to center it horizontally. This is going to center it vertically. So centering to the right. So just kind of play around with those a little bit so they just kind of display your information the way that you want your information to look, and then it will print the same way. Okay, freezing the panes. This is something, again, a lot of you guys that I talked to from the last session have big files. You've got a lot of data inside those files. You're typing in more data. You'll notice when you keep typing and you keep moving down, all of a sudden the animal shelter and the January, February, March, all that starts to scroll out of sight. So I had one gentleman say, well, I have no idea what column I'm even in because I can't see any of the titles. So one of the things that you can do with Excel, and again, remember, don't scroll back and forth. Don't do anything that's going to take an extensive amount of time, because there is a way in Excel to do everything to make your life easier. So for this is called freezing the panes. So I want to freeze, and I'm just going to click on cell A3 because I want to freeze everything above that and then to the right. And since I'm inside of cell A3, it's just going to really freeze rows 1 and 2. So I'm going to go ahead and make sure that I'm in cell A3. I'm going to click on view. And then over here toward the right is freeze panes. Now it will give me an option. I can either keep the rows and columns visible. I can freeze the top row. I can freeze the first column. But since it's not the top row or the first column I want to freeze, it's my specific cells I want to freeze. I'm going to go ahead and click on this top option, freeze panes. And you'll see this line that kind of shoots across. Now, when I scroll down, I'm going to be able to see January, February, March, my notes column, and all of my titles. And then if I want to take that off, it's the same thing. I just click on the button that freeze panes, and one of my options is unfreeze. Now, a lot of people will make the mistake, and they don't mean to, but they'll click inside of the wrong cell and maybe choose the wrong way to freeze it. So if I freeze panes here, I scroll down, and that's kind of defeating my purpose. I can't see the titles. So again, it's not a big deal. You just come up here and unfreeze the panes. Okay, now it will not print like that. This is just a view option, a view feature for you guys. So you can see and make sure that you're in the right cell or column or even row as you're entering data. Okay, my next, here are my charts. My next feature that I wanted to show you guys are charts, because working at ASB TDC, we have found a lot of times that we all look at the data a little bit differently. Like I can look at this and I can see stuff that I want to see. In other times, you might want to see it more visually. You might want to see the bar charts, the pie chart. You might want it to kind of stand out. So when you're talking to maybe your partner or anybody else that's involved in the business, to show them the information, or maybe where the problems lie, or where the successes are. It's the visual way of doing that is using a chart, and it's so much easier to do it that way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click to select the data that I want to create the chart. So I'm just going to go ahead and click the raw data. I just really want dogs, cats, and birds in January, February, and March. If I click on the insert up there from the menu bar, one of my options, and you'll see over here, this whole section of charts. Now, one of the questions I get a lot is, how do I even know to create a bar chart or a pie chart? Which one of these charts do I even need to create? Excel has really added a lot of really great features and helpful recommendations. That's what this button is right there. So Excel knows what type of data that I've selected, and I can click on this and it will select some of the best charts for me to use. So I'm just going to go ahead and click on this bar chart right here. I love these kind of charts. And okay. Move this up a little bit. There we go. And there's my chart. And I'm just going to kind of click, hold, and drag it to move it over a little bit. So you can kind of see and compare. Here's the raw data, and here's how it looks with the bar chart. So I can see as it gets warmer, we are adopting out more animals. So that's a good thing. So I can kind of see those bar charts go up. And then I can also see every single time for my Animal Rescue League, birds are the most popular ones. So they're the ones that are the highest bar. Let me delete this for a second. A lot of people like those pie charts, but let me show you what a pie chart does. I'm going to keep the same data selected. I'm going to go to insert from the menu bar. And then I'm going to come over here, and instead of letting it recommend a chart, I'm going to go ahead and click. Yes.
I'm going to interrupt you. We can't see the charts on the screen. We're just seeing the
Excel
sheet. Yes.
Okay.
So sorry to interrupt you.
No. Let me do this. Okay. So when I click on OK, can you not see that chart right there?
No, we just see your Excel.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Do we just see the sheet?
Let me do this. I'm going to, because I really want you guys to see the charts. I'm going to go ahead and save this. I'm going to stop sharing and reshare, because I think this is going to be really important to show you guys. Wonder why it didn't do that. That's kind of strange. So let me reshare. Okay. Now can you see it?
Yes.
Okay, good deal. That scared me for a second, because this is something that I probably get more questions about this and pivot tables, and I bet I'm going to have to do the same thing with the pivot tables when we get to that point. But so this is the chart. And so you can tell the reason for creating the charts. You've got the data over here, which is great, and you're going to be able to do a lot of things with that. But this chart over to the right is really helpful because it's more visual. So as you can see, you know, like I was saying before, you can see down here, dogs are blue, the cats are orange, and the birds are gray. Well, again, like I said, at my animal rescue league, for whatever reason, birds are the most popular animals that are being adopted. So you can kind of see again how each month is getting better. So we're doing something right there. And then you can also see which category maybe we need to work on. Now, it's not going to be as nice and neat like that every time, but a lot of times you will be able to troubleshoot this because you'll be able to visually see, you know, maybe in February, I had hardly any orange. Maybe it was just really minute. What's going on in February that we're not getting rid of a lot of the cats that are there and needing homes? Well, there might be something that we need to do. So the charts are a great visual to really kind of give you a bird's eye view of the data and what's going on with your data. And again, when I go to insert, I've got all these different options. And I always use the recommended charts because it will know which charts to use for that data. And you can see you've got a lot of different charts. Pie charts are usually, let me delete this. Well, let me show you something before I do this because it's not going to be as easy to stop sharing and share again. If you want to edit anything in a chart, if you double click, it's going to give you an option of changing things. So maybe I want to double click on the blue and I want to change it a different color. I can come over here and do anything that I want to with that chart. I can double click on the title and maybe even change the name of it. In Excel, double clicking is almost always a shortcut to get you to where you want to go. It really is just like right clicking. If I come down here and I right click on something, it's going to give me the shortcut menu about that chart. So once you create a chart, it's not static. You can go back in and you can change it. You can change the colors. You can change how it's viewed. You can even change a lot up here. You've got a lot of different options. Maybe you want it to be a little bit more fancy. And can you see that when I changed this? You kind of changed it into little lines, Lindsay?
Yes, we can see that.
Okay, good. Okay, perfect. So you can just come over and just kind of change it. Maybe you want the numbers inside there. Okay. But with the charts, again, you guys, it's one of those where you're taking the data, and even though it's understandable, maybe it's understandable to you, but you've got to present it to maybe your board or your partners or maybe the team that works with you. A lot of times making it visual, this part, the chart part, really clicks with everybody. Not the raw data will click with everybody, but if you want to make sure that you want to show your staff something, using the chart is probably the best way to do that visually. Okay, let me come over here. Okay, so can you see computer sales? Lindsay, okay?
No, we still see animal shelter.
Okay, no, let me stop sharing here. I'm going to reshare. For some reason, and you gotta love Zoom, it's letting me not go back and forth from my files, which is just fine.
Now we
Okay.
see computer sales.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so what I'm gonna do here again, you guys, this is one of those with a conditional formatting that you might wanna use with that too, because right now I've got where I'm selling laptops and printers and keyboards. I might wanna highlight these because I want to see everything that's falling in under 100. That's not good. Anything over 100 is a good day. Anything under 100 is not. So again, a really easy way of doing this, just like I showed you before, is highlighting the numbers that you want to place the conditional formatting on. Click on conditional formatting. And then remember, I'm just going to do highlight cells. I want everything less than 100. And I've got a lot of bad days there. So everything that's jumping out at me with the red on red are days that I need to look at and see what's going wrong. And so I'm just going to highlight those again. And I'm going to undo the conditional formatting just by coming up here to conditional formatting. And down here at the bottom, clear rules. So just about everything that you do, the steps that you do to start and turn on a feature are almost always the steps that you do or take to turn off a feature. So I'm just going to go ahead and clear rules. I'm going to clear the rules from my selected cells, and I take that off. But I wanted again to remind you of the conditional formatting because it's a visual feature that really kind of jumps out at you to tell you what's maybe going wrong or what you want to point out that's been a success. What you can also do with this, and I'm just doing a few manual things right now, but let's say that I want to sort by date, okay? So I'm just gonna click anywhere inside of the column where my dates are held. And then up here, I'm still on the home ribbon, but up here you can see the A to Z button. If I click on A to Z, I'm gonna say that I wanna sort oldest to newest. And there it puts all of my dates in order. Keep in mind with Excel, all of this data stayed with it. So if you clicked inside of this cell or this column, anywhere inside the column that has the dates, it knows to sort and keep all of the information together. One mistake, and I'm mentioning this because I see this mistake more than any other mistake in Excel, is a lot of people think, well, if I just highlight these cells and I come up here to sort it, and I do oldest to newest again, it will try to warn me. It will come and say, now, wait a second, you're only selecting one part of this spreadsheet. I'm pretty sure you want to expand it to select everything. So that's what this warning is. And I'm gonna say, yep, expand the selection and sort. And then it kept all the information together. But that's one of the things, again, the undo button up here will save you so many times, because there's times when I've done something like that and I've thought, okay, I disregarded that message, that little warning message, and I messed up. You can undo and get back to where you were before. Okay, the last thing that I wanted to show you guys are pivot tables. And this is one of the neatest features that you can really take and use to take a large amount of data and put it into something that really makes sense and kind of filter out and calculate just what you want. One of the things we do a lot with Excel is we get in here and we type in all this data and we type it and type it, and we've got pages and pages of it. And then we don't know what to do with it, okay? So pivot tables, and again, this is something that I can help you guys with your files. I can send you the steps, but it's one of the best features that you guys can use to really kind of arrange your data in the way that you want to arrange it. So I'm going to just click inside anywhere, because I'm going to use all the data. So I'm going to click inside anywhere inside that data. And then up here for my ribbon, I want to click on the insert ribbon. Excuse me. And then you'll notice the very first button is a pivot table. So I'm going to click on pivot table. And here it's just asking me, do you want to select the cells that are selected, that all those lines are disco dancing around? And I do. And then it does give me other options. I can use external data. Maybe you guys have a lot of data in another spreadsheet, or maybe Access, or maybe your accounting spreadsheet that you want to bring in. You can absolutely bring in that external data and put it into a pivot table inside of Excel. And then you can kind of maneuver a little bit easier with it. Do I want it to become a new worksheet, which it will add a worksheet down here, which is usually what I want to do? Or do you want it to be put in the existing worksheet? So I'm just going to go ahead and leave all the defaults as is, and then I'm going to click on OK. Now here, this is where people kind of are like, okay, now what do I do? There's nothing that I can see here other than on the left and the right, I've got a few options. If you just come over here on the right under the pivot table fields, what I usually do is I just start off by selecting all 3 of those. And if you have 5, I'll select 5, because what that will do is that will kind of give you an idea of where to start. And then you can move stuff around. You can change the rows and the columns and the values. I mean, you can change a lot of things around. But this will kind of give you guys an idea of what a pivot table is. So notice what it did. It broke everything down into the certain days. So on 1/1, this is the number of keyboards I sold, laptops, and printers. And then on 1/2, it broke it down. I obviously didn't sell any keyboards that day. And then even on 1/3, I obviously didn't sell any laptops that day. But so it broke it down, and it's telling me how much my total was for each one of the days. and then how many I sold of each. And again, you can move things around here. I usually like to control it a little bit better over here. So let's say I'm going to grab date and I'm going to move it just up into columns so you can see the difference there. So what I did here is this is what I kind of like a little bit more. It's a little bit easier for me to understand. But I've got now the keyboards, how many I've sold, laptops, and printers. And so I can see that a little bit better. You're not going to hurt anything by moving things around. So let's say I'm going to move item up there. And I'm thinking, okay, I don't know what that really did. So I'm just going to move item back. So with pivot tables, they are so forgiving. And remember, what I usually do is I put them on their own sheet. So the pivot table is down here on sheet 2. If I don't like it and I want to get rid of it, I can even just delete the whole sheet just by right-clicking on sheet. And then I can come up here and delete if I want. But what the pivot table, oh, yes.
We have a question from Wilson. Will data that has conditional formatting applied keep the format when we copy and paste it to a different sheet?
Wilson, it depends on which.
Hey, Chris, I muted you on accident. Can you unmute? I'm so sorry. I heard you say Wilson, and then we didn't hear you say anything else. I'm so sorry. Rookie mistake.
That is funny. Okay, let me go back. Here we go. Okay, can you see that now, the pivot table still? Lindsay, can you see the pivot table okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay, good, okay. But Wilson, what I was saying is it depends on the conditional format, because conditional formatting can do anything from the coloring and the formatting part of it to the top 10 or the bottom 10. So yes, the answer is yes and no to your question with the conditional formatting. Is there a reason? Is there a spreadsheet that you're working on that you're wanting to do something special with? And you can always unmute, Wilson, if you want to do that too. And I know where your office is too, so I can always come talk to you more. But what I think, you guys, what the key with Excel is there are so many different features and formulas and options. If you can imagine what you want, or you need to get to something, you want to make sure that you that the end result is a particular way. Sometimes it's a combination of a formula and a feature. Sometimes it's a combination of a formula with here, let me show you this. Sometimes it's something basic as a formula to where you want to do something in this column that's really kind of a dummy column. Let's say, for example, and I'm just going to kind of make this up as we go. Let's say I want to double this. So I'm going to take 600 and I want to times it by 2. So the formula that we did last time, remember, anytime that I want to start a formula, I click inside the empty cell. If it's a formula that I want to manually type in, the first key that I'm going to hit is the equal key on the keyboard. That tells Excel that I'm going to do a formula. Now, I know enough about Excel and I know enough about the different formulas to manually type them in. That's, again, why I give you guys my email address, because even though I know you've got options here, you've got options over here, sometimes just the going to the way that we used to do it by just manually typing in a formula is easier than doing it the other way. So what I'm going to do is equal starts the formula. I'm going to click on cell C4, which has the 600 in it, because I want to multiply it. And remember, the symbol for multiplication is the little asterisk. I want to multiply it by 2. And I'm going to hit enter. Okay, so let me click right there so you can see the formula again up here. So what I did was I selected the actual cell, and then I multiplied it, and then I typed in a number. Sometimes you might want 0.10 to get 10%. Sometimes you might want different things. You can type in any number, maybe the tax rate, maybe some kind of a percentage that you're trying to get. But for me, I'm just going to do this pretty basic. I just want to double. And then remember the shortcut. In order to copy this down, I'm going to get my mouse on the autofill handle at the bottom right-hand corner, and I'm going to double click, and it will copy it all the way down. I could have clicked, held, and drug also, but I just wanted to show you that shortcut. Okay, so let's say that what I wanted to do was I wanted to do this and double it, because this number is the number that I wanted to create the formula on. So let's say here, I'm going to do equal this, and I'm going to divide it. Oh, well, let me multiply it by 0.10. Okay. Double click. So don't worry about why I'm just kind of making this up on the fly, but I wanted to show you a lot of times somebody might want an answer that one formula won't do. So you might want to do a formula that gets you part of your answer, and then the actual formula that gets you to where you want to get. And a lot of times I'll come up here and I'm just going to right click on column D and I'm going to hide it. Okay. Why I'm planting that seed, and I'm going to do more of that in the advanced formulas, but why I'm planting that seed is because a lot of times people sit there and we struggle with trying to get the right formula. And a lot of times it's really by just kind of doing or creating a dummy column that gets you part of your answer. And then you create the formula column that gets you what you want to get. You're going to boil it down or drill it down to what you want. And again, you guys, with your spreadsheets that you have, I can help you work with those. A lot of times it's me looking at it, you tell me what you want, and then me kind of trying to figure out how to get there and show you how to get there. But again, Wilson, you just kind of sparked that in my head, because a lot of times you can do a combination of conditional formatting with pivot tables or a dummy formula column to get the answer that you want. And then here, I'm just going to come up here. See how my mouse now, it kind of splits in the middle. I know I'm on my hidden column. I can click, hold, and drag over to the right. Okay, so anytime you guys want to hide a column, you just come up here right where the light gray is, where the column heading is. I'm going to right click and I'm going to hide. Maybe I don't want everybody to see our prices. And then if I want to unhide, you can kind of see that bar that's separating column B and D. It's a little bit wider than the rest of the separators. I'm just going to position my mouse on that with the double-headed arrow, click, hold, and drag over. Okay. Lindsay, I'm going to leave the rest of the time open for any questions, or again, just to let you guys know that there is so much that you can do in Excel. And I know I go kind of through a lot, and we're kind of jumping from formatting to charts to pivot tables. But my key thing is, if you know that it can be done in Excel, the steps are the easy part. That's when you email me, you give us a call, you visit the website, you can get the steps easy. The hard part about Excel, for me, when I learned it way back in the 90s, I didn't know what it could do. I didn't know that the capability that I could do an if-then statement in there. I didn't know that I could do, even back then you could do, it was a little bit more archaic, but you could still do the conditional formatting. So with Excel, again, 90% of it is knowing what Excel can do. 10% of it are figuring out the steps. That's the easy part.
Okay, Chris, they did ask for your email address, so I've put that in the chat. I hope that's okay.
Yes.
And we do have about 15 minutes remaining. Does anyone have a question? You can post it in the chat. You can post it in the Q&A. You can also raise your hand, and then we will know that to unmute you, that you are ready to ask a question. Wilson, do you feel like we covered your question on the pivot table?
We're going to teach Wilson a lot. Well, and one thing, you guys, with the next class that we're going to be doing is it's about data, because a lot of times what people want to do is they want to type in, you know, the raw data. It might not be with numbers. It might be all of your inventory. It might be all of your different locations. It might be your employees. But we're going to work a lot with raw data and how to filter that out and kind of get what you want from the data. A lot of times we type that all into another software program, and Excel, even though it's known for the crunching the numbers and kind of a calculator on steroids, it still is very helpful with controlling your data, just your raw data.
And Chris, I've actually allowed it where everybody, if anybody has a question and wants to talk, all you need to do is unmute if you've got a question for Chris.
And you guys don't forget, you know, if you just kind of hover on top of one of these buttons, it's going to tell you what it does. So I'm going to go back to insert while we're waiting. If I hover on pivot table, it easily arranges and summarizes complex data in a pivot table. FYI, you can double click on the value, then it gives you some shortcuts. And then you can even go down to tell me more. And then also, if you guys, if there's anything else you want me to add to the next class with the data, I am more than happy to do that, or the next class after that with the formulas. If there's a specific formula that you want me to make sure that I do an example on, please let me know, because I'll definitely include that into the class with that also. Okay, let me go back so I can see.
Chris, in regards to my question, what I had asked about the conditional formatting is, I know in regards to the workbook, I had set it up to where it used conditional formatting to highlight a cell a certain color, but then when I equaled that cell onto another sheet, it did not pull the color. It only pulls the information in the cell, and I didn't know if there was a way to get it to pull the color with the information.
Right. Okay. So what you can do too here, let me reshare my screen. You can do the paste special. Have you done that before?
I have not.
Okay. I'll go back to the pivot table. Okay, so what you're saying here, I'm going to just I won't do conditional format. I'm just going to do the yellow. What you're saying is when you highlight this and you do a copy, I'm just going to do Control C, and you go to another sheet and do a Control V, that format's not copying?
Yeah, so the highlighted part, it would not pull the yellow. It would only just pull the information in the cell.
Okay. You might, well, and another way to do that, Wilson, is you can highlight. So I just kept this highlighted, and then I'm going to do Control C. Let me do the plus to get to a blank spreadsheet. Up here is your clipboard. You might, and I'm not sure what version of Excel you have, it should bring over everything as a default, but if not, if you click on the drop down arrow right here below paste, these are all the paste special options. So let me kind of hover on each one. I'm not going to click on any of them, but do you see how it's pulling over it differently?
Yes.
So what I would probably do, try that next. And again, you know how to reach me. You know, just go ahead and highlight it and then do a Control C, or you can even do the copy right there. But then go to your destination, which I just went to a blank spreadsheet, and then come up here and click on the drop down arrow for paste, and you've got all these options.
Okay. Yeah,
But
I just didn't know,
this
because
is
it's so like how you highlighted the values to where it would highlight all the ones that were less than 100 red. If you copied and pasted that to another sheet, if it would still highlight all those values, or if it just pulls the information.
Yeah, no, for the conditional formatting, no, it won't by default.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yep. Yep. Are you working on a spreadsheet right now that you're doing all that fun stuff in?
Well, I had tried to set it up like that in the workbook where I could go and just copy and paste and it would do all that, but I could never figure it out. So I just had to go and manually do that for every different sheet.
And do it again. That's with the latest version of Excel, and I do have it, but with the latest version of Excel, they were supposed to update that to where you could copy everything. You could copy everything that even was kind of just written in the cells, the formatting, the conditional formatting, anything like that. So we might need to play with that spreadsheet. If you want to even send it to me, we could kind of work with it.
Awesome. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Does anyone else have a question or something that's kind of been stumping them in Excel, or maybe something you'd like to talk about in the next class?
Yeah, make sure you guys email me anything that you want to cover, because we want to customize these classes as much as we can for you guys. Well, good.
Okay, Chris. Okay, Phyllis is asking which class covers formulas.
I've got it right here. So that class is actually August 18th.
Okay, and that registration is not up yet, but it will be very soon. So you can look for that in the next couple of weeks. That registration will be up.
And again, Phyllis, please feel free to call me or email me, and we can go over exactly what you're thinking about because I hate for you to wait until August to get a more advanced formula done. But yeah, let me know, because I can be on the phone and you and I can be sharing the worksheet and work with it together, so I can be teaching you at the same time too.
She said she would email you, so that's great. Okay, well, I'm going to tell you a few more things, and if a question comes up, we still have a few more minutes, so you're welcome to ask that question. But we do want to thank you for being here. As an attendee of this conversation, you will be emailed a copy of this presentation and can find the recording on our website. You will also be emailed a brief survey that will help us to continue to serve you and bring you quality programs. You can always find a full listing of our workshops at sbtdc.uark.edu. Also want to make sure that you're following us on social media, because we also post those there and remind you about them, because sometimes we forget. Please stay in touch, and we will see you next time.
And Lindsay, really quick, I want to show Helen just one more time the example of showing everything less than 100. Okay, so that question just came up. So let me reshare the one that I want to. Okay, sheet number. There we go. Delete that all out. Okay, so can you guys see the computer cell?
We can.
Again? Okay, great. So what I'm going to do is I want to highlight everything that is under 100, so it kind of catches my attention. I'm going to go ahead and first, Helen, I'm going to select the cells that I want to set the conditional formatting for. So that's why I just selected cells C4 through C11. And then up here, and I'm still on my home ribbon. I'm on the very first ribbon that comes up when you open up Excel. So I'm just going to go over here and click on conditional formatting. And then I just highlighted the first one. It says highlight cells, and these are all the rules. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to do less than 100. And over here, you can change all the highlighting. Like if I click on that drop down arrow, you can even do a custom format. You can change it to how you want it to look. I'm just using the default for Excel, so I left it with the light red fill with the dark red text. And then I'll click on OK. And again, if something changes, if I've got a correction here, and on 1-1, the keyboard sales weren't 45, they were actually 101, it will know to take that conditional formatting off. So that conditional formatting is set for that cell and will change depending on what's entered in that cell. And then again, if I want to take the conditional formatting off, the same steps. Remember, I said a lot of times the same steps that turn something on, the same steps that will turn it off. So I'm going to highlight those cells, go up to conditional formatting, and go all the way down to clear rules. And I'm just going to clear the rules since I've only gotten for those selected cells. I'm just going to click on clear rules from selected cells. Okay, so just highlight conditional formatting, select what you want. I'll just keep it. Okay.
All right, thank you, Chris, for going over that again. And again, please feel free to email Chris if you've got questions about something that she talked about today. You will also receive an email of this presentation. And we look forward to seeing you all again for our next Excel class or any of our other programming this summer. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.